Hello, hello, everyone. It's great to be with you today. My name is Christy. I'm with the San Francisco Public Library. I'm one of the youth librarians, and I'm so glad that you are coming to this event with us. It would be great if you want to put in the chat where you're tuning in from. We love knowing where our audiences are tuning in from. Before I introduce our wonderful guest, I want to take a moment to acknowledge that we are on the unceded ancestral homeland of the Ramaytush Ohlone, who are the original inhabitants of the San Francisco Peninsula and continue to live, work, and play here today. As the indigenous stewards of this land and in accordance to their traditions, the Ramaytush Ohlone have never ceded, lost, nor forgotten their responsibilities as the caretakers of this place, as well as for all people to reside in their traditional territory. We wish to pay our respects by acknowledging the ancestors, elders, and relatives of the Ramaytush community and by affirming their sovereign rights as First Peoples. Today, you're in for a treat. This is our VIP Summer Stride program with artist Kaylani Juanita and her mentor and former teacher, Lisa Brown. This is also part of our BIPOC Kidlit series, celebrating and engaging around the wonderful books by today's creators, authors, and illustrators. This entire series, as of all of our Summer Stride programs, is sponsored in part by the Friends of the San Francisco Public Library, or who are with us here today. Hi, friends. So I want to tell you a little bit about our Summer Stride program. This is our largest and longstanding program presented to inspire reading and learning and adventuring and exploring all summer long. We are so fortunate to have our local publishing house, Chronicle Books, right here in San Francisco, and 7 years of partnership with them to commission original art inspired by a picture book. This year is Tada by Kathy Ellen Davis, illustrated by Kaylani Juanita. And we invite them, this year Kaylani, to create original art inspired by being in San Francisco, the love of San Francisco. And we're so grateful that Kaylani accepted our invitation. We felt so lucky because just a couple of weeks later, she won the 2021 Coretta Scott King Illustrator Honor for another picture book. So we felt really fortunate that she said yes to our invitation and found time to create original graphics for our community. In fact, I want to show you a few of those. If you live in San Francisco, you have seen Kaylani Juanita's art on transit shelters. In fact, you've seen her portrait on transit shelters. You've seen posters with trilingual messages to get involved with your library this summer, inside our libraries and all around the community. If you're taking the bus, you've probably seen a bus card inviting you to travel to new places with your library. And if you've visited your library, which I'm sure you have, you've seen it on the outside of our library. So I hope that you are paying attention and looking closely at the art, because each time you will see something new. And if you're a lucky SFUSD student, you receive the tracker and summer book list made by your teacher librarians and your public librarians. You've got that in your mailbox. So you've probably been tracking your reading and learning and listening time all summer long. If not, you can visit any of your public libraries or download a copy today and start tracking. You can do it online as well. Welcome to everyone. If you're joining us from afar, you're welcome to download the tracker and play along with us. And you can also download a free resource. It's called the Everybody Reads Summer Guide, and it's available today in English, Spanish, and Chinese. This guide features the art of Kaylani Juanita and original literacy activities created by Dr. Cheryl Davis, who is the director of the Human Rights Commission, and this is a passion project of hers. So we thank her for her work and her contributions to this year's campaign. This is freely available for you, and it features every single author or illustrator who is joining us for the BIPOC Kidlit series, running all summer long with a special literacy activity inspired by their books. So please check it out. And last but not least, the summer prize is a tote bag that is features Kaylani's art, that book as a life raft. She really gets libraries. So you can't buy this tote, but you can certainly earn it by participating in San Francisco Public Library's Summer Stride program. So I want to tell you briefly about Kaylani Juanita. She's a Bay Area artist, lives in Fairfield. Again, she won the Coretta Scott King Illustrator Honor Award, a really big deal for her amazing work. And she's been busy, finishing up her master's degree from UC Davis. And she strategically and specifically makes inclusive picture books to represent underrepresented and marginalized communities. So, and with that, I also want to introduce Lisa Brown. She is the New York Times award-winning artist and cartoonist. She's also a big supporter of the Friends of the San Francisco Public Library and has helped found the Brown Handler Fellowship, where emerging voices have a writing stipend and a space to create more work for our community. So we thank you, Lisa, for your contributions to the Friends of the Library. And with that, I'm going to invite you to grab a pencil and a piece of paper or your favorite writing utensil and get ready to draw along with Kaylani and Lisa. First, Kaylani is going to take the mic and share a little bit about her journey as an artist and her work. And then Lisa is going to be in conversation with Kaylani. We welcome your questions too, so put them in the chat and we'll pull for those. We always prioritize questions from kids, so we want to hear from you kids. And with that, I'm turning the mic over to Kaylani and Lisa. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for the introduction.
Yeah, I'm so excited to be here with you, Kaylani, and I'm so excited to see your slides. So why don't you pop them up?
All right, sounds good. So, hello, everybody. My name is Kaylani Juanita, and I'm here to talk a little bit about myself in celebration for Summer Stride 2021. And on the right is a screen, on the right is a picture from the book Ta-Da that I illustrated for Kathy Ellen Davis's story. And then on the left is a picture of me from whenever I was little, probably about 9 or 10 years old. So yeah, a little bit about me. So, as you guys know, I'm an illustrator, so I work from home and I draw art mainly for picture books. I do a lot of different types of art for like magazines or posters like you guys saw for the Summer Stride stuff, but one of my favorite things to do is draw art for kids to enjoy in books. Some of the books that I've been working on the left, Ta-Da, and then on the right, Magnificent Homespun Brown, When Aiden Became a Brother, The Little Things, and A House for Every Bird. So as you can see, I really, really like drawing people, especially kids having fun and playing and celebrating themselves and their identities and community, and just family in general, family and friends. But I didn't always draw picture books. I used to be a little kid just like you guys. And even when I was little, I used to draw. I've been drawing what feels like my whole life ever since I could pick up a pencil. My mom told me this story about whenever I was little, and I drew on this wall this really big picture of a cow with like crayons and markers. And at first she was pretty upset that I drew all over the wall, which I would not recommend that any of you guys do. But she was always really supportive, and she was mesmerized by my cow drawing capabilities. So on the right is a picture of me and my little sisters from a long time ago. I was around 7 years old.
It looks like it was really, really long ago.
I know, they edited it in like sepia, so it looks super aged. And we always laugh at
Not that old.
Yeah, we look like little old grandmas. It's really cute. And then, yeah, so I really like thinking about real life whenever I draw picture books. Specifically, this in the picture in the middle, it's me giving my little sister like a piggyback ride and we're playing pretend. And I feel like you could see a lot of that in Tada in a lot of the books I draw. Because whenever we were really little, my mom, she was working a lot of the time. So we used to spend all our time like making up games and stories with each other. And one of our favorite games to play together was called Hot Lava. And how that works is the whole ground, like all the carpet and everything, we pretend like it's lava. And then we would throw pillows around and jump from pillow to pillow or couch cushion to couch cushion, avoiding letting our feet touch the ground because that's how you lose the game. And here's a picture from when I was, a picture on the left, which I drew when I was 6 years old. And that seems like a kind of long time ago, actually, now, because right now I'm 27 years old. I turned 28 in November, but that was like 27 years ago. That's a long time ago. It was in the year 1999, which seems crazy because it's now 2021. But this is the oldest picture I have that I've drawn. And it's of my mom on the left. She has the striped shirt with a tree on it. Me in the middle getting my ears pierced. Those are the little dangly bits right here, these little circles. And then on the right is the lady who pierced my ears. And then a stuffed animal in the chair because I got my ears pierced at the mall when I was like 6 years old. So on the far right is a picture of me, my mom, and my two little sisters, and just some like background information. So my mom, she's like first generation American, and her family is Filipino, and they immigrated from Manila, Philippines to San Francisco whenever my mom was really, really, really little. But they lived in around like North Beach area, so like in Chinatown. And then my father's family, they were from Arkansas, so that's the South, and they migrated from all the way from Arkansas to East Oakland area. And then that's where they started their own business of funeral homes, and they were one of like the few Black-owned funeral homes. And that's how my mom and my dad met. And then that's how I was made. So, well, me and my other two sisters too. But yeah, that's just a little background information about me and some of my roots in the Bay Area. And then here's kind of like a short timeline of how my drawing has changed a little bit over the past over the past 2 decades. So on the very, very left is a drawing I drew of myself at age 6 years old. And then another drawing I did of a girl at age 13, and then 18, and then 24 years old. And then all the way on the right is kind of how I draw now in the year 2021 at age 27 years old. So as you can see, it's changed a lot. And I wish I had more drawings to show you guys. But yeah, I feel like consistently, I've always really, really felt like it was important to draw people who look like me and have representations of different types of people, because I never really saw that in picture books when I was little. So some advice that I would give you guys is, and also my younger art self, on the right is a picture of me and my sisters again, and our dog Jack from whenever we were really little. But some advice I would give you guys is to keep samples of your old artwork to track progress. Read and study lots and lots of picture books and any other books with illustrations. And also be kind to yourself. So as much as it's important to practice, it's also really, really important to take care of yourself while like you're practicing and even on your off days and everything. So when you draw, take breaks to stretch and rest and do like hand movements because you have a lot of fingers in your joints. So you want to make sure to stretch your hands and like take a break from sitting at the desk, and also eat snacks and drink water, have playtime, and also take the time to admire your work and celebrate all the cool stuff you've made. So with that, I'd like to end this with a Q&A with Lisa Brown. And Lisa was my teacher who taught me everything about picture books and was also my picture book mentor, just so you guys know.
Well, I'm excited to ask you some questions, and then I'm excited to hear the questions that the audience wants to ask. Everything you know about picture books did not come from me. It probably came from you reading picture books, and I wanted to ask you what your favorite picture book when you were a kid is, or what some of them were.
So my most favorite one was Goodnight Moon, and that I feel like is a classic. So my mom would always read it to us, and then like as we'd say goodnight to every little part of the room, because that's what the rabbit does in the story, for the nighttime routine. After we'd read the book, we would say goodnight to random stuff. So it felt really interactive, and I think it was because it was so beautifully illustrated. It felt like strangely magical nighttime. I don't know like exactly how to say, like explain it, but that book, like it perfectly encompasses right before bedtime. So that one was a classic. And then also, I think it's called I'll Love You Forever. And like, I can't remember the title, but the phrase I'll love you forever and like you for always, as long as I'm living, my baby you'll be. That was also one of my favorites, because whenever my mom would read that to us, like I understood we would get older one day. And I was always kind of scared of like, oh no, one day I'm going to be older, because I always wanted to be close to my mom. But in that book, it's so beautiful because the child grows up into an adult and then takes care of the parent. So it always made me feel like, okay, no matter what, me and my mom are going to be close, regardless if one day I'm taller than her.
What I love about both those books is they seem to be books that made you feel safe and cozy. Are you working on any books that make you feel safe and cozy?
Yes. Okay. So, well, two that I've finished that make me feel very safe and cozy that are recent, aside from Tada, because it's like really fun and playful, it's also really cozy, but you don't get to see like any guardians in that book. But for Magnificent Homespun Brown, there's a lot of like really cozy moments, and everything is painted in kind of like a warmer palette, so it feels like you're being hugged. And then for When Aiden Became a Brother, I feel like there's a lot of really like sensitive and intimate moments with parents holding like kids and stuff. So I really enjoy drawing that kind of stuff. I love the safe, cozy moments.
You talked about palette, and the word palette means what colors you choose. And I wanted to talk, because I'm a teacher of art, I love talking about art supplies. And also when we saw your art through the years, it seems like your art supplies and your choices change. So what are some art supplies that you love to use, and what have you used in the past?
Okay, so it always changes depending on what other people show me too, because then I notice other people do things and I'm like, wow, that looks so cool. I want to try that as well. But so aside from digital, because I do a lot of tweaking and editing in digital, and I like, depending on the project, I'll go back and forth, but some of my like favorite analog art supplies, I really, really like I'm going to use these pencils in the demo later, but all of these pencils with different hardnesses, most of the time I use 6B and HB, and those are like the darker ones, and they make really chunky lines, which is what I use for Tada to make all the hair scribbles and everything. And then aside from that, I just really like using, they're called Dr. Martin's watercolors, but you could really, there's so many other different watercolors too. I just really like these ones just because they're really, really pigmented.
And
yeah,
pigment means like dark colors, like bright dark colors.
Yeah, so like I like for my color palettes, I usually try to choose stuff that's more light and airy, but whenever I do stuff by hand, I really like deep dark colors and like saturated colors. The pigment is just so you guys know, it's the color, and then they add like fillers and stuff. So the pigment depends on like all the other stuff that's added to it. But I like when the pigment is really, really high.
I remember the book that you drew for me in class that used a lot of black ink. And
Yeah.
it was really dark and then they were really bright. And you did it all, I mean, pretty much all by hand, which people think that everything's done on the computer, but that's not true. A lot
Oh,
of artists still work by hand.
and it has like a different feeling too. Because there's some stuff like with digital, they make like a lot of brushes and stuff that like mimic and copy watercolor. But some things, watercolor is super unpredictable sometimes. Like even it can change when you add certain stuff to it, like more water or like salt or something else. And I like the notion of that. Like I like with working with inks and stuff, I like the fact that you can't control it. So sometimes it'll bleed off and go do something else. Um, and I feel like there's a little bit of freedom in that because then you don't get so fixated on trying to correct and fix it all the time. You kind of learn how to work with it. So I would suggest to any of you guys to, even though digital art is really cool too, and I like using it, I love working by hand, and I suggest all of you guys to experiment working by hand. Like there's a splatter brush on like on my digital art that I use, but in real life, what's really cool and less adds like a little bit more spice to it because it's inconsistent is you get a toothbrush that you don't use or like an old one that you cleaned and used, and then you wet it, and then when you do that, which is what I did for all the stars in the little galaxy book I did in Lisa's class. So when you do that and all the water is on it and you aim it towards the paper, it flickers and it does like these little speckles that can be read as stars or anything else, stars, freckles, any types of like little dots.
I forget what I was going to say. So you have, I was thinking of hand drawing and the happy accidents that happen. And it made me think about inspiration and what inspires you. Like happy accidents might inspire you, like making stars because you're using the toothbrush. And I was thinking about what inspires you and what makes you want to draw picture books in particular.
Okay, so
Those are two big questions.
yeah, I'm like trying to rack my brain. Which one should I talk about first? So first, I would say what inspires me is I feel like it's a lot of human interaction and seeing other people and meeting people and listening to them. Like sometimes, well, just in art in general, I feel like a lot of art is just related to storytelling. And even if people don't think it is, I feel like there's some type of some type of narrative underneath. Like you could peel anything back and see like a narrative or a story. So I feel like a lot of my inspiration comes from um, listening to other people talk about themselves or watching other people like do things, like people watching kind of in public, because we're all kind of in this like big bubble together. So you see a lot when you just sit down and start to like notice things. Like I used to sit on BART and I would just sit there, even if didn't have anywhere really to go, I would sit there and just let the train go like back and forth and I would transfer to different trains. And I would bring a sketchbook and just draw people. Not trying to like creep them out or anything, but I draw them casually from a distance and make sure they didn't feel me just like staring at them. And yeah, I had like a bunch of different like life drawing sketches of people just living their lives and wondering like, oh, where are they going to go? What are they about to do next? And then other than that, just music and feelings and enjoying stuff. Like looking back on past experiences, like for the for the San Francisco Public Library art, I was thinking a lot about whenever we were little and my mom, she'd get off of work. We already lived in Fairfield by then. So she'd get off of work and then we'd go to San Francisco. We'd go to Chinatown and because the bakeries used to be open really, really late. So we'd go to like a Chinese bakery and get like custard pies or like gai mei bao or something. And then we would just eat the bread and walk around. And it felt so like magical and mystical because it was like, oh, we were inside all day, like playing hot lava. And now we're at night and we're eating bread and walking around the street and all the like adults are walking around. And it felt like a whole different world. And so then aside from that, what made me want to work on picture books is it was going to CCA and getting to meet you, because before I really wanted to do conceptual art for like video games and stuff. And then I kind of realized after like hearing more about your class, like, wow, there are so many ways to tell stories aside from like working working with video games. Like I could write my own stories instead of working on someone else's, which felt super empowering to me because I never considered like the type of stuff that I would want to tell people. I always kind of wanted to join other people's projects and help them tell stories. But then I realized my stories are important too. So thank you for that. Like, thank you for listening.
Yeah, I mean, we talked a lot in the class about telling one's own story and seeing oneself in picture books. And I think that I know that's your goal, and I think you do it really well. And it's really exciting to see you in your books, even when you're telling the stories of other people that have written them. You know, you're putting yourself in the book, so it becomes a collaboration, and it's really fun to see you in everything you do. And I know that we have some questions coming from the audience, which is very exciting. So I'm going to ask you some of them. How do you draw hands? Hands are really hard to draw. How do you do that?
Okay, so hands, I have like a love-hate relationship with hands, and same with like feet and toes, because mostly the fingers. Okay, I just saw it really is the fingers. Okay, so I think this might be easier to explain if I like have piece of paper. Okay, so I have like the demo page set up, but I don't want to like mess it up. So like usually what I do is I'll like look at a picture of a hand or my own, and I'll kind of like reference it, and you can see like it's made up of different parts. So you have this bigger, like more like square rectangular piece that's like the back of your hand or your palm. And then aside from that, you have the fingers and the joints and everything, and you kind of see how they stack up: pinky, and then ring, and middle, and then pointer, and then the thumb is all the way down here on the corner of the box. So like sometimes when I draw hands, I think about it like that. So I'll use like a darker pencil. So first I'll draw like the box, and then I'll draw like the fingers, kind of like keeping point of where the joints are going. And then from there, I'll just draw it in like slightly darker. So then I'll just fill them in, making sure like the fingers kind of stack the right way. Put a little lump because like there's kind of a joint right there. And then add like another little lump. And then you just kind of keep tweaking it and keep erasing it. But you like, that's how I draw them. And I feel like I draw hands like pretty simplistic too, so it's a little bit easier. And I kind of draw them fast, like a squiggle usually when I'm drawing naturally. But yeah, if I know that like at the school I went to, they had like a head and hands class where all you did was draw heads and hands. So it's not just you who has a problem with drawing hands. Hands are like, I feel like a lot of people's worst enemy, but they're fun to draw once you get used to drawing them.
Yeah. They're so hard. Sometimes I draw them over and over and over, and I still don't get them right. On the summer stride tracker, there's a picture of an ugly carrot. What's your favorite veggies to eat and draw? Do you like drawing food? I love drawing food.
Yes. Okay. So I love drawing food, and I really love like produce that's misshapen. It's not even like it's misshapen. It's more like we're very used to produce being like very like specific, neat, and looking organized. But I love whenever carrots have like an extra leg, or you see like a very strangely shapen strawberry that kind of, it's like, is that a strawberry? Why is it shaped so lumpy? It looks kind of like a rhino face. So I, aside from like produce, I really like drawing pastries. And I feel like that's like a cultural thing too, because each like different cultures have different types of pastries. So I feel like that tells its own separate story as well, like the type of food you draw in books. So yeah, those are my favorite.
A bunch of people want to know if you've ever done like graphic novels or comics. And are you interested in doing that ever?
So I bug Lisa about this a lot because Lisa's so good at comics, you guys. Oh my gosh, you guys have to look at Lisa's comics. but I'm definitely interested, and right now I'm trying to come up with some ideas for one that I've been mulling over constantly. But whenever I was little, I used to read a lot of comics. Like that's kind of what also got me into like drawing as well, because I don't know if you guys have ever been there, but it's in the Bay Area. It's called 99 Ranch or Pacific East Mall. And whenever I was little, it used to like really be more like a mall. Like there wasn't as many like vacant stores. But they had a really cool comic book shop there. And I used to always get like my comics and my how to draw books there. So yeah, comics. I really hope I can jump in them.
It's really fun learning from reading other people's work. I mean, I feel like I learned so much just by looking at what other people are doing, either like old fashioned or now. Are there any artists who you've been looking at lately?
Ooh, okay. So off the top of my head, um, this isn't really like a picture book artist, but there's this artist that I follow on Instagram, and she draws a lot. Her name is Lilypour, and she does tattoos, but she does a lot of like flash. You wouldn't know this, but a lot of people who do tattoos also do like watercolors and illustrations with pen and ink as practice for the tattoos. And I just think it's so cool how what I really like about her art is it's like a mixture of all different types of things going on, like tattoo art, also like 90s like Chicano art mixed in with that, and then like revisitation, like reimaginings of like vintage cartoons like Betty Boop and everything. So that's kind of who I'm looking into right now. I have like a whole list of like picture book artists that I like because I look at them all day.
It's really, really fun. And it's fun to realize that art is everywhere. Like art is on people's bodies and tattoos. They're on walls, they're on posters, they're in books, they're in museums, they're in stores on packages. So it's really fun to look at all the art in the world. One of the questions we have is, you mentioned the importance of snacks. We talked about pastries, we talked about ugly carrots, and now we're talking about snacks. What do you like to eat when you're making art?
Oh man, what don't I like to eat? I feel like that'd be an easier question. One of right now I'm really into smoothies. Because like speaking of like ugly fruit, I feel like I don't finish them enough. So sometimes when I take a break from art, I'll just plug in the blender and make smoothies and stuff because it's like less time away from the computer and my desk, which is not the best habit. But smoothies, and then aside from smoothies, I've been really into eating like fried egg on a tortilla. So kind of just like fried egg tortilla and then maybe like some fruits.
I'm very much into fried eggs on tortillas, actually. I'm alone right now, without my family, trying to work, and that is my dinner of choice, is a fried egg and a tortilla.
That's the best one. That's the champion meal.
I think that we should do an art project. Do you think we should do an art project?
Yes. Okay.
Okay. So I know you're all set up, and I'm set up because I have my notebook and I have my pencil, and I think you're going to teach us how to draw a book. Is that true?
Yes. Okay. So since we're all here to talk about picture books, and your guys' stories are just as important as the stories we're telling, I wanted to teach you guys how to draw a book. That way you can start planning for all the books you're going to draw in the future to share with all of us. So let me start the video on here. Ooh, I'm not sure how to pin. Yes, thank you very much.
Sure. This is always the hardest part.
Okay. So I just have this tape to kind of see where the boundaries are because the paper in real life is like hard for me to tell where it is. So let me just move that up a little bit. Okay. So first, what we're going to do for our book project is you want to have handy pencils and erasers, just because you can use a pen if you want, but I feel like it's a little bit safer to use a pencil in case you make mistakes or anything. So our first step is we're going to be drawing a rectangle, but the rectangle is going to be slightly diagonal. So we're going to draw a slightly diagonal line going down. I'm going to try to make this big. See how it's kind of at an angle?
Yep.
And then from there, we're just going to, the line at the top should be straight. We're going to draw another straight line parallel to the top one at the bottom.
Sometimes it's hard to draw straight lines.
I know, you see how mine has a little bit of attitude right here? I just didn't want to listen. That's okay.
That's personality.
And I feel like a lot of the books I like have scratches on them anyways now for me taking them places and holding them so much. Okay, then we're going to complete the rectangle by drawing another one on that side. So now we have the first part of our book, which is kind of like the cover. Okay, so the next part, what we're going to do is at the bottom right here, we're going to add kind of like a C shape. So you can kind of draw it lightly so you can like feel it out. Okay, so we're going to draw like a little C shape. And then you're going to to add to that line right here at the bottom, you're just going to draw a line that's matching this one at the top. So draw that like that. And then from there, what you're going to do is you're going to add another line up here because the book is kind of like at an angle. So the line is going to go straight, kind of like down like that. So draw it like that at a slight angle. And then you're going to connect this line to this one down here. If it's not long enough, you might need to extend it a little bit, but start at the top just so you know it kind of like matches up. So you're going to go down like that and then just connect it like that. Okay. And then from there, what you're going to do is you're going to draw kind of like the hole in the spine. So when you look at a book, if you could still see me on my screen or even under here, I'll just show it over here. So if you look at a book, you can kind of see like there's this little lump right here. So this is like what we're going to draw, like the little spine part. Okay. So going back to this, you're going to add this little like kind of like line right here. That's where the book is bound, all the pages and everything. And
Do you
then
remember what that's called? It has a funny name and I bet you don't remember it.
wait, what's the name of it?
It's called a crash.
That's kind of cute.
It's how the pages are like all glued to the spine.
So you're going to draw the crash, which is located right here. And then also you're going to draw a little line right here to show it's like kind of like the corner of your book pages because it's like at an angle. Okay. So then from there, the final kind of step to set up the book is you want to draw the line where the spine is from the front and make it lead into where the little crash is showing right there. And then from here, you just add extra lines for the pages. Okay, so there's a book. And the final step to making the book is adding yourself on the cover. Or whatever you want your book to be about. But I think you guys should draw yourselves because you should celebrate yourself all the time. So I'm going to go ahead and draw me. So right now, what do I look like right now? Sometimes I forget. Okay, I have a hat on. I should probably draw my head first because I have a pretty big head. And I'm going to leave room at the bottom for the title. The title could go on the top or bottom, or it doesn't have to have a title at all because there are so many books out there without titles. At least not on the cover. So here are my shoulders. I'm wearing a little sweater. I have a slightly kind of egg-shaped head. And then I'm going to draw my little eyes in. And I hope you guys are drawing yourselves along with me. My nose, my smile. And I have kind of tiny eyebrows. And then right now, I have braids. So I'm just going to draw in my braids. I cannot wait. At the end of this, I really want to see what everybody's portraits look like because I love looking at portraits. It's really fun to see how people see themselves. Okay.
I don't know if we did an exercise in our class, but I've done an exercise. It's called like the 30-second portrait, and to see how fast you can draw yourself. It's really fun.
Ooh.
So we're all going to get a chance to show on our Zoom screens our little art that we're doing.
And I feel like I always have little flyaways just going everywhere that can never be tamed. Okay. Perfect. And then I'm going to put the title at the bottom because that's where I have room for it. So I'm just going to put my name in bubble letters.
Nice.
You do the best hand lettering, Lisa.
Oh, thank you. It's really fun. I love an alphabet.
I don't know if I'll have room for my full name. I'm just going to put K and then my initial. Okay. And I'll put some.
I love your braids. I love the way you drew your braids.
Oh my gosh, thank you. I can't wait to see how you drew your hair because your hair is so perfect every time. I love how you, your curls, they always land perfectly. Okay.
Not in real life.
So once you're done drawing your book, the fun part is coloring it all in. So I'll just add some quick colors with some watercolors. Let me test this out on the side where you can't see.
I don't have watercolors, but I have a highlighter pen. So I'm going to use a highlighter pen.
Ooh, that would be so good too for like what is that called again? When it's like a two-tone color palette, when it's just
it's not a monotone, it's I don't remember.
I don't remember either.
See, this is what happens in the summer.
It's because I haven't really
a limited palette.
There you go. Oh, man, that's so literal. I don't know how I forgot that.
Well, I think there's probably another name for two colors in your palette, but a limited palette is a good thing to remember. Another good thing to remember is the term artistic license, which means it doesn't matter what it looks like to anyone else. It just matters what it looks like to you. That's how I like to explain artistic license.
Ooh, I love that. Okay, and then we're gonna
dual tone, says Christy of the SF Public Library, because librarians know everything.
I'm gonna start saying dual tone. I feel like it sounds, I like the word dual because it could mean two or it could mean dual.
That is one of the good things about being a picture book artist. It's if you love pictures and words, you're always using them together. And I love words.
And I feel like they mean the meaning changes so much once it's accompanied with pictures too.
Mhm.
I think that's one of like the coolest parts about picture books is that they would not be the same without if they had one or the other, if it was just words or just pictures.
Although you can have a picture book with just pictures, but you can't have a picture book with just words.
You know what? I actually have like a picture book without any words, and I think it's called The Journey, and it's like a series of 3, but
Mhm.
there are no words at all. And I remember the first, it's weird because it's like you have to look for all these context clues in the background and in the illustrations. So it's
Right.
um, and I had never had that experience before. Like I think aside from that series, I have yet to pick up like another picture book that's only pictures. But it's crazy what you can communicate with just pictures.
There's a great picture book with just pictures and it's by a writer and an illustrator. So it's hard to imagine someone writing a book without pictures, but it's called Sidewalk Flowers. And it's by Joe Arno. Oh dear, librarian, help us. And illustrations by Sydney Smith. It was wonderful. So while you're finishing painting, I'm going to talk about a couple other books that I love. Joe Arno Lawson, yes, and he is a poet. He's a really good poet, and he's from Canada. Other things that I've been reading lately that I love, besides Kaylani's work, Raoul the Third. Has anyone read any Raoul the Third? He has a couple of new books. One I love is called Vamos, Let's Go to Market. And Katya Chen has a really beautiful book about a bear and a moon. Michaela Goad has a book about saving the planet, about water. And I can't, I should have written all this down because I don't remember the author. She's the illustrator, and it's a beautiful, beautiful book about saving the earth. And yeah, there are just so many books to read, and I'm sure they're all on the library's list. We're getting a bunch of fun links in the chat. We're almost ready to show everyone else's creations. I love your little cheeks.
Oh my, I think we had a whole conversation about cheeks and knees and stuff.
Yes, it was a big year for knees in our class.
Okay. And then I'm just gonna go for her face one more time to make her browner. Okay. All right, and then I'm gonna add a background for the book cover, and then we will be good to freaking go. So I think I'm gonna put green in the back, even though there's stars. Oh, that was really, I said, I love saturated, and then look what I did. Okay, so I'm just gonna add a little bit more water to spread it out. Actually, you know what? I think I have a bigger brush than that.
Here's a question. Do you ever put your brush in something you're drinking instead of your paint water?
Yeah, and I've also drank paint water before.
Yeah, me too.
So, oh man, because it goes by kind of fast sometimes.
Yep.
Especially when you're looking super close to your paper because you don't have zoom on paper, so you have to look really close sometimes. And if I'm not paying attention because I'm looking so close to the paper, sometimes I'll just immediately dip it in the wrong cup, or I'll just grab the wrong cup. I'm gonna just fill these in anyways.
Yep, it's a problem. We Are Water Protectors. That's the one I was thinking of, by Carol Lindstrom. Michaela Goad is the illustrator. The librarians are finding all the things I'm forgetting, which is what librarians do. There's Vamos, Let's Go Eat. Vamos, Let's Go to Market. There's so many Vamoses. Vamos. I tried to read it out loud. There's a lot of Spanish in it, and I'm very bad at Spanish, and I mispronounced everything. But at least I tried.
I've been seeing a lot of books lately. So this is done, you guys. But I've been seeing a lot of books translation in on the page too. And I think that is so cool to like teach language at the same time, have it like phonetically spelled in its original context in like language, and then have it in English. So for people who speak English can understand it. I think that's so cool to have the combination of all three. So here you go. This is how you draw a book. And I'm really excited to see what everybody's books look like.
Okay, so everyone hold up their books. Go on your screen, hold up your books. Let's see what we're doing.
Oh,
Can we get more people bigger? Let's see, maybe if I change my view to gallery. If you change your view to gallery, you can see everyone's. I can see Kathy's. The Life of Andy. Oh, look, that's really, really intricate.
my goodness.
Jason has a good one.
Aaron, that looks great. Aaron and family.
Oh, wow. There's
Ooh.
so many beautiful ones.
Kathy, I love the smile and the sunglasses. Oh my gosh. The stars are so good.
Vanessa. Vanessa has some nice pink shirt and hair.
Oh my goodness. Oh, yes, there's a second page of this. Asa, oh, I like that book. It's so colorful.
Oh, Andy has his hands in the air. So great.
Andy's having a ball.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I wish there
Love the watercolors.
does anybody know if there's a way if we could, I wish there was a way we can have all of these pictures collected. Because I want to get to spend time to look at each of them individually too.
Yeah. Why don't we all hold them up at once and maybe someone can take a screenshot of the screen?
Oh, yeah.
So hold up your art as close as you can to the camera, everyone. Let's try to screenshot it on 3. 1. Oh, Joel, move it a little farther back. 2, 3. Okay, I tried my hardest to get some of that. Well, thank you, everyone. We're almost at the end. Does anyone have a last question that they're dying to ask Kaylani before we go? Well, then I will ask a question. What are you most excited about what you're doing next, Kaylani?
Oh, I have so many things to be excited about. Okay, so excitement, art related wise, I'm getting to lecture my first illustration course during the summer, so that's exciting. And then book wise, now that I've graduated school and everything, I'm working on another book with Chronicle, so that's really exciting. I can't speak too much about here because it's still work in progress, but I'll have a little bit more time to work on my own stories. So for the first time, I'm getting to work on a story that I've written and illustrated. So I'm extremely excited to work on that. So I get to draw all the stuff that I really, really like.
I see a hand up. We have a couple more minutes. Andy had his hand up for a while. Andy, do you want to unmute yourself and say something? Someone could unmute Andy.
Okay, this is my bee story.
Oh, wow.
Wow. Your trees are so perfectly drawn and you drew such a big, vast sky. Oh, I love the sun. The sun is perfect.
And it has even more.
Oh, it's a whole book.
Wow, that was so cool that you put the words inside of the leaves of the tree. Oh, that beehive.
That is so clever.
And
Oh, look at the bees.
What
Yeah,
are they saying
kitty.
to each other? Andy, what are the bees saying to each other?
They're telling stories and stuff.
Oh.
And they're excited because there's yummy, juicy flowers. Where are they? Oh, yeah.
I see the juicy flowers.
is there any questions?
This looks like a great book. I wish I could read it. Oh,
Wow.
look at that color.
What?
Yeah, Andy was this actually inspired by the author talks that school introduced. So yeah, I really love the library have this kind of program. It's a good education for the kids. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing.
Libraries are amazing. We have a question that is really interesting to me. And it's talking about the evolution of your style. I think it was so great. I've never seen someone put all those styles through the years up on one screen. I loved seeing that, Kaylani. Can you talk about how do you come across a style and what makes it change?
Oh yeah. So I remember when I was younger, I really tried to just like for a second, I was like, I'm just gonna develop it. And I don't think that's possible to just decide that one day. So I think I realized, wow, the fastest way to like kind of like shape your own style, because it's always shaping, you can't control it, it just happens. Is to look at other people's art you really, really like. And sometimes it inspires you or gives you ideas on how to draw stuff in a way that is your own. So that way you're not just copying other people's work, but expressing yourself in a way that's uniquely you.
That's really great. What is our timing like, librarians?
We're rolling with it. This is such a beautiful conversation, and we're loving hearing about the creativity. I see another hand. If you'd like to take one more question.
Yeah,
And
of course. Okay, let me unmute.
It's Gia has a question. Is that how you pronounce your name? I'm not sure. You have glasses on.
Jai? Is it pronounced Jai?
I'm not sure. Just a minute.
Oh, thank you for taking your glasses off. Now I can see your eyes. What's your question?
I draw this one.
Look at that.
Oh, that green is so beautiful.
I like the bird. That's really lovely.
Oh, that is a very strong bird in the corner. I love that. I like the feet on the bird. They're so perfect.
That's really beautiful. That's like when you were saying things are saturated, Kaylani. It means there's lots and lots of bright color in there.
Yeah, and the contrast, I think you did a great job with the contrast between the background and the greenhouse. Is that your house? Is that a drawing of your house?
It's not my house. My house is yellow now, a green.
Oh, so what's the building in the drawing?
That's my exercise school.
Oh,
I draw inside my exercise school.
wow. There must be really cool birds there.
Are there birds there, or is it from your imagination?
The bird are in here.
And did you draw the rainbow behind you as well?
Yes, it
Wow, I see more pictures of juicy flowers.
I see flowers. I see another tree and stars.
That's not a tree.
Oh, what is it? It's hard to see. Is it a clover?
Yes, it's a clover.
Oh, I like the rainbow on the clover. That's how you know it's extra lucky.
Thank you for sharing your art with us, Gia. And thank you, Kaylani and Lisa. I hope that you have been feeling the love from the chat feed. Lisa, specifically, we have some shout outs for the airport book and also how to be and really see your skills as an instructor for illustration out of the California College of the Arts really in action here. So thank you so much for bringing this gorgeous conversation with Kaylani. And Kaylani, thank you for doing so much for our community and sharing your art, your whimsy. Every time I look at your piece, I see something new, and I have so much appreciation for you. There was a comment in the chat that said, even at 6 years old, 6 years, your characters have so much personality. And thank you for sharing your amazing family history. And there's a lot of love for your Bay Area connections. So we really appreciate you sharing so much of your life with us today. We are all excited to see your Goodnight book. I hope that's in the hopper. If not, we want something. We know you can make it safe and so cozy for us all. So thank you. And for everyone tuning in on YouTube and on Zoom, we really appreciate you showing up today and being with us. Please join us next week, July 22nd. We have Jean Nguyen Wang, Dragon Hoops. He's going to be in conversation at 1 p.m. Pacific time. So that's all. Take care and follow Kaylani's advice. Remember to eat good snacks, stretch and rest, be creative, and take care of yourself during the process. We'll see you soon at our public libraries. Thanks, everyone.